Hi Chefeteers, I'm Chef Nakia and I want you to be more confident in the kitchen. And with the back to school season upon us, I want all of you busy parents out there to feel really confident packing lunches for yourself and your kids throughout this back to school season. I know it can always get really hectic and crazy when schedules are shifting back from the busy summer schedule into the busy school schedule. There may be new extracurricular activities ramping up, as well as for yourself, like in your own careers, there might be shifts with the season and you are spending more time and energy in your career at the same time as your children are going into a brand new school season. So I think this is a great time to talk about quick, easy to pack lunches that are going to be nutritious and everyone's going to be really excited about eating. Now, of course, everybody in the family does not need to eat the same exact thing for lunch. But in today's video, I am going to share with you some ideas that may work well for kids, may work well for adults, and you know your personal preferences and your family's personal preferences the best. So then taking those ideas and thinking about how can we especially prep these on like a Sunday night before the school week starts, how can we get as much work done as possible? That way it's an easy week ahead of packed lunches. In my opinion, using a bento box style packed lunch can be a really natural way to create a balanced meal because you have all of these separate sections that you get to fill with different components of your meal. This can also help when you're packing for multiple people because maybe everybody in the family loves strawberries and you can pack strawberries in everybody's lunch, but then the protein and starch component that you pack might be different for different people in the family. So traditional Japanese bento boxes typically would include a starch or carb of some kind, oftentimes like noodles or rice, and then a meat or fish, some kind of protein, and then either fermented, pickled, or cooked vegetables. And of course you can also use like raw, fresh vegetables too. And in addition to it being a nice, well-balanced meal, a lot of times they were also little works of art. And now if you don't have the time or you don't have the desire, it's totally fine. You don't have to pack every bento box with a variety of colors and textures and flavors that are super exciting. But if you want to, it can be a fun, creative outlet, you know, and whether it's you or your kid opening that box at lunch, it's like an immediate jolt of joy whenever you see a beautiful plate or bento box in front of you. And I have two examples of bento boxes here. This one I would say is a little bit more of like a snack style because it has a slightly larger container area here, but it would be fairly difficult to fit like a whole meal and then with maybe like the garnishes on top. So this might be great for more of a snack style box, or if you just want to leave, you know, half of it off, then maybe filling up this whole area might be a great meal. What I love about this is there are a few different options for sizes of the compartments, and then they even have this big container for sauces or dressings, whatnot. And of course, if you don't have a sauce or dressing, then that opens up a nice extra container for you there. And the second one is even cuter. So that it has this nice little built-in fork and knife, which I love. Reusable silverware, of course. And then it has this nice tray on top and a nice open container on the bottom, which can really be helpful for the bigger like stir fry type meals that you might want to pack in the bottom. And then of course up top you get to keep things separated, and it has a tiny little sauce container. And what's great about this style too is if you have picky eaters at home who maybe don't like it when food touches, this keeps everything nice and separated. It can also be helpful if you have some elements of your lunch that are crispy and some that are pretty moist, and keeping them in their separate compartments can ensure that the crispy things are still going to be crispy whenever lunch rolls around. It won't have soaked up all of that moisture from the other ingredients in your lunch. So hopefully by this point you're thinking, yeah, I want to start packing up some bento boxes for lunches for the family. And of course, the number of bento boxes that you're going to want to buy is going to depend on how many people are in your family and if you're trying to pack all 5 days of lunch at the same time or not. Also, you don't have to go out and buy new things all of the time. Look around. Maybe you have some smaller Tupperware that you can fit inside other food storage containers to create your own bento boxes out of what you already have. If you don't want to, go and purchase new. Also, if you aren't already in the habit of packing lunches or bento boxes, you might want to test this out with stuff that you already have, because there's nothing worse than going out, buying things, trying it a couple times and saying like, oh no, this doesn't work for me. And then hopefully you can resell it and whatnot and not just throw it away. But I do know sometimes that happens. So the more that we can reduce waste, yes, in our food, but also in our food containers, the better. Alrighty, so what food are we going to pack into these boxes? And after I go over some ideas about the food, I will get into, all right, it's Sunday night, how are we gonna plan this out? How are we gonna make this happen so that the whole week ahead for lunches is super, super easy? All right, the first meal idea is probably not gonna be surprising at all, but make your own Lunchables. And you can make adult style Lunchables, like basically tapas, and you can make Lunchables that you think that your kids will enjoy more. So whether it's different types of lunch meat or cured meats, different sliced cheeses, or maybe like a goat cheese spread might be a delicious, slightly elevated version of like a kid's Lunchable. Also, I mean, just like manchego instead of cheddar maybe. And then as far as crackers go, there are so many different types of crackers that you could use and that you could pack in those boxes. And then you can pair those crackers, meats, and cheeses with some like snacking veggies or a deli style salad, like a pasta salad, or just a, easy, like I said, deli salad that, you can eat on for a while, just slot in one of the containers. Dried fruits, nuts, fresh fruit, seeds, any other like snacky type things that feel like they would round out the meal for you. Another thing you could do, especially in a bento box style like this, is you can make a sandwich and slide that underneath and then fill the top with, pretzels and a little salad or veggies or other snacks, whatever stuff you want. And if you want to add a sauce to your sandwich, but you don't want the bread to get soggy, put that in a little container like that, and then you can drizzle it on right before you eat it. Same basic principle, but it'll work with any sort of like wrap or sandwich, like including paninis and things like that. And again, with this style, bento boxes can work really well to put a fresh salad underneath, and then the components that might not do so well directly on the salad that maybe you would want to sprinkle over right before you eat, you can put in the top here and the dressing, and then blend your little salad together so your croutons will still be nice and crunchy. And if you have, maybe you want to put avocado over the top, you can like keep that wrapped tightly so it doesn't oxidize. Everything should maintain its texture and flavor really well whenever you just add it on right before you eat. And then thinking about maybe not the most generic American style meals, if you think about Mediterranean food, you could make some falafel and pair that with a Mediterranean style salad, or you can take some pita bread and add the falafel in along with some toppings and create your own little pita wrap at lunch. Again, because the pita is going to be separate from the toppings, you don't have to worry about everything getting like soggy and weird. Also, if you have, let's say you have shaved lamb and some feta cheese, olives, and arugula, you can reheat that shaved lamb separately from everything else. That way you get the nice warm lamb, but then the arugula and cheese is gonna stay nice and refreshing. Whatever sort of falafel or pita wrap that you do, you can always include like a tomato and cucumber salad in one of the little containers. You could add rice and then put tzatziki in like one of the little sauce containers, and then maybe an olive tapenade to top it all off. Another dish that would be great for a bento box style lunch would be like leftovers from a bibimbap. So you can go ahead and put the rice in there and then add whatever toppings you had for your bibimbap, whether that is soy glazed carrots or kimchi or some poached or hard-boiled egg, steamed spinach, like steamed mukamame, pickled cucumber and cabbage, steamed fish, teriyaki chicken, fried pork. I mean, there's like no limit as to what all amazing flavors you can incorporate. With the base of rice and a few different topping options, you can make lunch a little bit different day to day and person to person based off of who likes what the most. You can also do like sushi rolls or nori rolls, like veggie filled nori rolls, especially for like a nice snack. That's a fairly traditional bento box food. Another little bit more traditional would be fish cakes or kohlrabi cakes if you want to do something vegetarian or vegan, along with some seasoned bean sprouts, kimchi, and rice or noodles. So these are just a few ideas. Please let your creativity run wild. I mean, there are truly endless possibilities for the types of foods that you can mix and match within your bento box to make a delicious lunch for you and for your kids whenever your kids are going back to school. So how do we put this into practice? Okay, so here are my 5 tips for creating bento boxes for the week on Sunday night. Number 1, choose 2 or 3 vegetables. And I say 2 or 3 because I do think it's important to limit yourself. The only way I would go over 2 or 3 is if you are planning to use leftover vegetables from dinners throughout the week. In that case, I would just have one of the 2 or 3 be leftover veggies. So even though those veggies might change in your mind, you can simplify it by just saying like, okay, the leftovers, and then choose 1 or 2 other veggies specifically that you're going to use for the bento boxes. This helps you simplify it while also keeping things more exciting throughout the week because you aren't only eating leftovers every single day. You're incorporating 1 or 2 new ones in. And this is any type of cooked, pickled, or fresh vegetables that you enjoy. This can also include like little side salads or deli salads, things like that. For the purposes of our example here, I'm going to use soy glazed carrots, oriyatiki salad, and steamed spinach. Number 2 is to choose 2 or 3 starches for your week. And similar to the veggies, if you want to use leftover starches from dinner, that's fine, but to simplify it in your mind, just think of those leftover starches as 1, and then choose 1 or 2 additional starches to fill in other days. So that could be rice, quinoa, farro, orzo, couscous, noodles, roasted sweet potatoes, roasted potatoes. There are so many different starch options out there that you could use. For our example, we're going to use quinoa, rice, and roasted sweet potatoes. And then number 3, choose 1 or 2 proteins. And the reason why I limit 1 or 2 proteins instead of 2 or 3, like I did like the veggies and the starch, is typically proteins are going to be a little bit more expensive. They might be a little more time or energy using as you create them. for example, like if you're cooking quinoa or rice on the stove, you just boil the water, you get it going, you're done. But sometimes when you're, cooking fish or chicken or beef, you might be attending to them a little bit more closely. You might be taking more time and thought to season them well, and then keeping a closer eye as they're cooking, because you really don't want to overcook those. I mean, you never want to overcook anything, but a lot of times the thickness of the protein varies a lot more, whereas typically if you know what works for your stove for rice, you're gonna be able to cook it well, like every time. So make it easy on yourself, just limit yourself to 1 or 2 proteins. And for our example, we are going to do grilled chicken tenderloins and hard-boiled eggs. Step number 4 is to get your bento boxes and different food storage containers out and ready to pack, and then start filling them with different combinations of these proteins, starches, and veggies that you chose. And this will depend, of course, on the ages of your children and their age-appropriate motor skills, as to if you want them to come and dish out for themselves for the week and help you pack their stuff up, or if it's more appropriate for you to be handling that on their behalf. So once each of these elements are cooked and prepared, really what you're setting up for yourself is kind of like a prep cook's assembly line. And there's a reason why whenever you go to a restaurant, you can order and your food is gonna come out so quickly, because we do so much prep time the morning and the early afternoon before you've come in for dinner. And so we have a lot of elements, set and ready to go, and we just do the finishing steps. Sometimes maybe adding that extra bit of flavor, combining the ingredients the way that they need to be, but the more time-intensive steps of cooking have already been done. Therefore, you can create 5, 10, 15 meals in not very much time. And then step number 5 is to add in extra flavoring elements as you see fit. So this could be filling these little sauce containers. Maybe one day it's a teriyaki sauce and another day it's a tzatziki sauce. Maybe it is choosing a few garnishes. So maybe some sliced green onions that you're going to want to add that day on the top of that meal. Any of those just subtle, typically a little more fun, and especially the really easy, just pour sauce from a bottle. Or if you do like to make a lot of your own sauces, maybe you will have leftovers from a dinner, and so then you can pack that then. But step 5 is really just focused on those finishing touches, the garnishes, the extra flavor, and the sauces that you want to pack up with what you've chosen. All right, so let's take our examples of our foods and put them together. Let's talk through what okay, so we chose 3 veggies, 3 starches, and 2 proteins, how these can come together to create some pretty significantly different meals throughout the week. And I did write these out, and I have them on my notes on my laptop, and I think I'm just gonna hold this here, that way I don't have to constantly be looking to the side for them, just because I want to be able to read them off efficiently for you all. All right, so this might look like day 1, you have the soy glazed carrots, rice, and the grilled chicken, and then you pack some teriyaki sauce in a little container. And you can reheat all of that together, if you have a microwave in your work kitchen. And if at school kids have access to microwaves, they could just reheat all of that pretty easily. Day number 2 can be the horiyatiki salad with quinoa and chicken on top of that. Then you can add a tzatziki sauce to make that quinoa and chicken have a more Mediterranean Greek style feel. You could also, if you love olives, you could, top it with an olive tapenade. Now that one, the horiyatiki salad, you're not really gonna want to reheat. So if you can reheat your quinoa chicken separately and then add on that tzatziki sauce and the horiyatiki salad, then that's gonna come together much better. All right, day number 3, you could do steamed spinach with rice and hard-boiled egg. And then you can add some sriracha on top with a chiffonade of Thai basil. And chiffonade just means you like slice it into really, really thin little strips. So that we're leaning into a little bit more of like an Asian inspiration. If you like spicy, then you'll love that sriracha. If not, you can just replace it for your favorite sauce. But if we're getting tired of chicken for lunch, look, we're switching it up with a new protein. And the Mediterranean style flavor on Tuesday compared with the more Thai, Southeast Asian style flavor on Wednesday will make you feel like you're really eating a different meal, even though it's the same ingredients, even though it's similar ingredients all week, it tastes pretty different. All right, day number 4 is Horia tiki salad, roasted sweet potatoes, and grilled chicken, and then you can add some za'atar seasoned chickpeas on top. And you could do just chickpeas like out of a can, or you can pan fry those chickpeas and toss them in za'atar if you want to do a little extra cooking. Both ways are delicious. I will say the pan fried ones do take on a really satisfying texture, and they're super fun. So if you haven't pan fried any chickpeas before, I do recommend you do it because it's quite delicious. But here again, we're going a little bit back to a Mediterranean style, but with the za'atar, it's kind of a little bit more of like a North African Mediterranean, not so much a Greek. And then day number 5, we're gonna use 2 veggies here. We're gonna just use up like all of the rest of the veggies that we have. So the soy glazed carrots and the steamed spinach. And then we're gonna have that alongside the quinoa with the hard-boiled eggs again. And then we can top that with a honey or white balsamic vinaigrette, and that's going to really help all of those flavors come together. And it's like a flavor profile unique to anything that we've really had up until this point this week. So that is an example of how you can take those couple veggies, couple starches, couple proteins, and then add, ideally, you know, sauces that you already have in the fridge or pantry, and really create a week of unique meals that you're going to enjoy. And I will admit, this flavor profile that I put together, it probably leans a little bit more towards an adult palate, but sometimes with our little ones, they can, you know, come up with a favorite food. They can find a favorite food, and then that's kind of all that they want to eat day in and day out. So you may be able to pack pretty much the same like lunch meat, cheese, crackers, and snacks, whether that be like fresh fruit and veggies, or maybe they like pickled veggies, maybe they like steamed veggies, whatever you feel like you can round out that meal with. And you might be able to do that like 3 or 4 days in a row and not hear any complaints. Whereas I think as adults, a lot of times we do tend to get bored a little bit quicker with the same foods. And of course, sometimes kids will one day have a favorite food and they can't stop eating it, and like 2 days later, they're like, no, I hate that food. So you may need to, you know, adjust there and change the game plan midweek, call a bit of an audible. But hopefully you have enough components prepared that calling that audible isn't going to add a ton of extra work to your plate. All right, Chefeteers, thank you so much for your time. I hope that you have a really great stress-reduced, because I don't know if it can ever be like truly stress-free, but stress-reduced back to school season, and I hope that it's filled with lots of really delicious lunches. And because you are able to get some of this planning out of the way and you can put them together efficiently, maybe you can find some time and energy to also make it a little work of art. If you like learning about meal planning and meal prepping and finding more ways to build your confidence in the kitchen, be sure to subscribe. And I put on new videos every other Wednesday along with some bonus videos. So, you know, you can just check back every Wednesday to see what new stuff we've got going on over here. All right, thank you so much, Chefeteers. We'll talk again soon.